This is Renewing Faith Radio with Pastor Jason Gold of Regeneration Calvary Chapel in Sandpoint, Idaho.
In your presence, darkness hides.
This angel, it appears, came freshly out of the presence of God and is making this announcement of what's going to take place, and is fully lit up, fully illuminated, which brings a simple application. You and I should be fully illuminating Christ in us and through us. Because if he's the light and we are to walk in the light, and it's so important that the focus of the light is Jesus Christ.
On the cross, it was done.
Today, as Pastor Jason continues his study through Revelation, he pauses to acknowledge the angel in chapter 18. Just as this angel illuminates the world, beaming with the light of Jesus, so too should our lives shine as a light for Jesus. This world needs to see Jesus. Our lives, the way that we live, act, talk, and treat one another, are often the best revelation of who Jesus is to others. Who do people see when they see you? Ask the Lord to use your life as a testimony of His love for the world. Now turn in your Bible to the book of Revelation chapter 18. As Pastor Jason begins his message, One World Economic System Destroyed.
If you would please open up to Revelation 18. Revelation 18. And I want to encourage everyone as we study the book of Revelation. As we study the book of Revelation, there are things that are encouraging, and then there are things that are kind of doom and gloom. And we are in a time in our study where it has the appearance of doom and gloom. But we need to remember at the very onset of the very first chapter of a promise that was given, a promise of blessing. And the promise is read in Revelation 1:3. It says, "Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written in it, for the time is near." So, we need to understand that there is a blessing in store for all of us. And so we come in faith. Lord, you have a blessing for us. And that's my approach on it, because everything can be discouraging, all depending on what type of glasses you put on, right? And, when we study expositionally, sometimes there's topics that are brought up that pastors just don't want to teach on because it's uncomfortable, it makes you squirm. Talking about sexual sin, talking about divorce, talking about, alcohol, talking about drugs and, pornography. That's super fun to talk about. But it's important when we talk about these things, we study them as they come. And so, obviously, there are happier things to talk about, flowers and trees and water and cheeseburgers and stuff like that. But, this is the battle that I'm in, personally. There's the teeter-totter of, Lord, I just want to focus on you and your plans for me. And Lord, that you're coming, and Lord, even if I die, I'm going to be in your presence forevermore. And Lord, I just want to focus on that. But there's a reality that we can't put our heads in the sand, and as we look at, Satan's plan for this world and his plan for religion and one world religion and one world economic system, we also know that God has a plan. And it's all foretold. It's all part of what he wants us to learn. And so as we study Revelation, specifically Revelation 17, Revelation 18, there's some similarities and there's some differences. The similarities are that both are under the rule of the Antichrist. That both are filled with blasphemies. Both hate the saints. Both hate the church. Both are associated with with spiritual and physical fornication. Both are under judgment and both will be destroyed. So that's the encouraging part. Both will be destroyed. But some of the differences are in chapter 17. The mystery Babylon is the religious Babylon. It's the religious one world religion. And it's described as the harlot, the one that commits spiritual fornication, no doubt physical fornication as well, sexual sin, guilty of religious abominations, worship of false gods. And it's going to be destroyed by the Antichrist because of the hunger for political and economic strength, the Antichrist comes in and abolishes the world religious system and declares that 3.5 years within the tribulation period that he is to be worshiped and he alone. So that's chapter 17. Chapter 18 is the great city. It's the political, economic system, one world system. And it's described as this great city. You know, all the great cities, Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, there are all these economic hubs. You know, the stock market, Wall Street, those are all types of Babylons, where all the flow of our entire economic system goes. So Revelation 18, it talks about the marketplace. It's guilty of self-indulgence and greed, and it's going to be dealt with. But the great city is not destroyed by the Antichrist, but the great city is suddenly destroyed by God Almighty. Both destroyed, but destroyed differently. Some believe that Babylon will actually be rebuilt in Iraq near the Euphrates River. Saddam Hussein, if you remember, he actually tried to start to erect Babylon City. He wanted to rebuild it, and he thought he was the creme brulee of leadership. Well, he's no longer around. Others see the Babylon as symbolic because there's types of Babylons all over the place. Every metropolitan area is a type of Babylon. And there's going to be a hate towards God. There's going to be a hate towards Jesus. John 15:19 says, if you were of the world would love its own. Yet because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. So is this saying earth hates you? No, that's not what it's saying. It's the world system. What is the world system? It's religion, it's economics, and it's politics. All of that hate Jesus Christ. And so he is saying every part of the world system hates me, and they're going to hate the Christ follower. That's super encouraging, right? And so this future Babylon represents all of these parts. Whether it's literal or symbolic, the truth remains the same, is that the driving force to this one world order is demonically driven by the devil, his minions, and we're going to see the Antichrist come into the picture. Well, I don't think we're going to see it, but there will be those that see it. And it's all going to be fueled and influenced by the Antichrist, and it will be destroyed. But we're going to read chapter 18 in its entirety so we get the full context, and we'll go back and talk about it. So Revelation 18, verse 1. It says, after these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, and a prison for every foul spirit, a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay double according to her works. In the cup which she has mix double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as queen, and I am no widow, and I will not see sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come, and the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her. For no one buys their merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of most precious wood, bronze, iron, marble, and cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, and bodies and souls of men. The fruit that your soul longed for has gone from you, and all the things which are rich and splendid have gone from you, and you shall find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, who became rich by her, will stand at a distance for fear of torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the sea, stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of the burning, saying, What is like this great city? In verse 19 it says, They drew dust on their heads and cried out, weeping, wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city, in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. So that gives it some context. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, O heaven, and you, holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down and shall not be found any more. The sound of harpists, musicians, flutists, and trumpeters shall not be heard in you anymore. No craftsman of any craft shall be found in you anymore. And the sound of a millstone shall not be heard in you anymore. The light of a lamp shall not shine in you anymore. And the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall not be heard in you anymore. For your merchants were the great men of the earth. For by your sorcery all the nations were deceived. And in her were found the blood of prophets and saints and all who were slain on the earth. What side do you think we should be on? This is pretty radical when you just read it in the full chapter, what is going to be taking place. And so here in verse 1, it says, And these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. So it's important for us to understand that chapter 17 and chapter 18, these are these parenthesis type chapters where there are the bold judgments that are taking place. God is judging the earth. But so this is now taking it's not a pause, all this is going on, but chapter 17, 18, this is going on while the judgments are going on. And so the fifth judgment, the fifth bowl judgment, brings utter darkness to the earth. Revelation 16:10 says, "Then the fifth angel poured out his bowl on the throne at the beast, and his kingdom became full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues because of the pain." So it was so dark, it was painful. I mean, how dark does dark have to be in order for it to be like chewing on your tongue feels better than the pain of the darkness? That's pretty radical. So this angel comes and is illuminated in glory. Does this remind you of anyone? It reminds me of Mo. Exodus 34:29 says, "Now it was so when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the two tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hands, and when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him." So, as Moses is talking to God, Moses is illuminated because of God's glory. And so verse 30 says, "So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses," so Moses comes down, so Aaron and the children of Israel, they're not with Moses on the mount. So Moses comes down, he's still illuminating. He is still lit up. "So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone. They were afraid to come near him." That's pretty radical. So this angel, it appears, came freshly out of the presence of God and is making this announcement of what's going to take place and is fully lit up, fully illuminated, which brings a simple application. You and I should be fully illuminating Christ in us and through us. Because if he's the light and we are to walk in the light, and it's so important that the focus of the light is Jesus Christ. Because oftentimes you say, be the light. What light? Let's define the light. Let's define the object of the light. The object is Jesus Christ. The object of our faith is Jesus Christ. 1 John 1:5 says, "This is the message which we have heard from him and declare to you, that God is light and in him is no darkness at all." Which is challenging for us because in our flesh, we allow darkness to come in. And I could just start with a thought. And it's like, get that out of my head. 1 John 1:7 says, "But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. And the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanses us from all sin." And it's all him. All right, verse 2, it says, "And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, prison for every foul spirit, and the cage for every unclean and hated bird." So this is very similar language to ancient Babylon and the fall of ancient Babylon. In Isaiah 21:9, it says, "And look, here comes a chariot of men with a pair of horsemen. Then he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the carved images of her gods he has broken to the ground." So the fall of Babylon is also mentioned in Revelation 14:8. It says, "And another angel followed and said, Babylon is fallen, the great city." So we have the great city, which is the economic governmental system, but it also talks about the fornication, which is the harlot. It says, "Because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." And so the seventh bowl judgment in chapter 16 says that everything is destroyed. Like every mountain is flattened. Like Mount St. Helens, when that erupted, it took a chunk out. But you could still see the mount is still there. But when everything is destroyed, that's what it means. It is just as flat gets. There's going to be no question of what just took place. It's not going to be, there was an earthquake. It was a volcano. It was the super volcano at Yellowstone that wiped everything out. No, it's going to be God's hand. pouring everything out, leaving only place for demons and these meat-eating birds. In verse 3, it says, "For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury." So, religious Babylon, it lures people into false religion, false gods. Jesus requires accountability. Jesus requires change. But the beauty of it is that he changes us from the inside out. It's his work. It's something that he does. But when somebody goes after a false religion, a cult of sorts, most cults are centered around worshiping something other than Jesus Christ, and it's sexually perverted. It is a cult of fornication, of exercising sin. And so when we think about what does it look like? What are some of the religions that are currently happening today? Well, I have no doubt in my mind that there is a false religion of worshiping creation. Save the planet. No, we need to be fishers of men, not fishers of trees. We have seen the forestry burn up. Man cannot save anything. Only God can. And this is what our world is driven to. It's driven, outside of Christ, it's driven to false gods and to sexually live however you want. That everything there's no moral standard anymore. And so we see the demise of morality in our society. It's not just California. It's not just the United States. This is a global thing. And this isn't anything new. Now I'm going to read to you the Communist Rules for Revolution of 1919. Now there's speculation, there's conspiracy on this document of its validity, and if you go to any left-leaning fact-checking, they say that this is a spoof. It's been around for years, nonetheless. I find it very interesting. And this is the Communist Party's rules. And so number 1 is corrupt the young, get them away from religion, get them interested in sex, make them superficial, destroy their ruggedness. Number 2, get control of all means of publicity. Number 3, get people's minds off of the government by focusing their attention on athletics, sexy books, and other trivial things. Number 4, divide the people into hostile groups by constantly harping on controversial matters of no importance. Destroy the people's faith in their natural leader by holding the latter up to contempt, ridicule. Number 6, always preach true democracy, but seize power as fast and as ruthlessly as possible. Number 7, it says, by encouraging government extravagance, destroy its credit and produce fear of inflation with rising prices and general discontent. Number 8, strike the vital industries, encourage civil disorders, and foster a lenient and soft attitude on the part of government towards such disorders.
You've been listening to Renewing Faith Radio with Pastor Jason Gold. We're currently in the book of Revelation. Revelation has all kinds of interesting topics and can be fairly intimidating to tackle, but we're here to bring some encouragement and hope through this final book of the Bible. Many people think that Revelation is a strange and confusing book to dig through, but ultimately, God's intent with this book is to give you hope for the future and what He's planning to bring about for those who believe in Him. Do you find yourself anxious or hopeful as you've been listening? If you'd like to get in touch with us about anything you've heard, or if you have questions about these topics, feel free to give us a call. Our phone number is 208-557-WORD. That number again is 208-557-9673. To hear this message again or others like it, go to renewingfaithradio.com. In fact, while you're there, why not download our mobile app? Simply go to the About tab and click on App. That way, you can listen to these messages if you're in the car or if you're cleaning your house or wherever you may be. Renewing Faith Radio is an outpouring of the ministry here at Regeneration Calvary Chapel in Sandpoint, Idaho. We'd love for you to visit this weekend. Come get involved with our church family. You'll find service times and directions at our website, renewingfaithradio.com. Thanks so much for listening today to Renewing Faith Radio.